Or go. Okay, Mr. Chairman, you have quorum.
Have more people online here and John, you want to do the honors? Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Hialeah Planning and Zoning Board meeting for Wednesday, June 12th, 2024. Everyone, please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here tonight to do what's right for our citizens. And may all our people stay dry tonight. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May be seated. Do we have anyone on Zoom?
Yes.
We do, okay.
Meeting guidelines. The following guidelines apply to today's Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Any person, whether participating via the web platform, telephonic conferencing, or physical presence at City Hall, interested in making comments or posing questions on any item on the agenda may do so during the meeting. Members of the public may hear the meeting live through telephonic conferencing using any telephone or cellular phone service. A smart device or computer are not necessary to participate in the meeting if you join by phone. All persons participating via the web platform will be muted during the meeting until called upon to be heard. Participation through Zoom requires a computer or smart mobile device with a microphone and web camera. The participant may elect to participate in the meeting using audio only or appear through both audio and video. The video functions of all participants appearing through video will be turned off until called upon to be heard. All lobbyists must register with the Planning and Zoning Board prior to item being heard. A maximum of 4 speakers in favor and 4 speakers in opposition will be allowed to address the Planning and Zoning Board on any item. Each speaker's comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Item number 1, roll call. Mr. Perez,
Here?
Mr. Mason, Mr. Iglesias,
Here.
Mr. Jimenez is absent, Mr. Ulloa, Mr. Santiesteban is absent, and Mrs. Enriquez is also absent. We have a quorum. Item number 2, approval of Planning and Zoning Board summary agenda of May 29th, 2024 as submitted.
Motion to approve.
Second that motion?
We have a motion by Mr. Ulloa, second by Mr. Iglesias. Mr. Mason?
Yeah.
Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Item has been approved. Administration of oath to all applicants and anyone who will be speaking before the board on any item.
Anyone and everyone that's going to speak in front of the board, please stand, raise your hand, and that includes those in the electronic audience.
Do you swear or affirm the truth before this board? ¿Usted jura o afirma decir la verdad ante esta junta?
Okay, thank you. We don't have, okay, well, let the record show that the people that are present, the answer was in the affirmative.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
A written decision or resolution will be prepared and presented for review to the city council. The city council is authorized to affirm with conditions, or override the decisions by resolution. After the resolution is adopted, contact a member of the city clerk's office to obtain a copy of the final decision or resolution. Upon your receipt of the final decision or resolution, contact the building department to obtain your required building permit. Summary minutes or a copy of the audio file of the proceedings before the Planning and Zoning Board shall be prepared and submitted to the city council before its hearing. The Planning and Zoning Board recommendations for the following public hearing requests will be heard by the city council at a scheduled meeting of Tuesday, June 25th, 2024. Item number 3. Petition to close, vacate, and abandon for public use the eastern portion of the 12-foot alley running east and west between East 9th Avenue and East 10th Avenue, extending westward for approximately 220 feet, more or less, from East 10th Avenue. Contingent to relocate agreements with the City of Hialeah Public Works, FPL, Florida City Gas, AT&T, and Comcast. Applicant, Carlos Diaz Esquire on behalf of Metro Park Hialeah Number 3 LLC.
Name and address, please.
Yes. Good evening, board members. Carlos Diaz with offices at 333 Southeast Second Avenue.
Thank you. Microphone.
The 12-foot alley closure requested in this application runs east-west through the block surrounded by East 25th Street to the north, East 24th Street to the south, East 9th Avenue to the west, and East 10th Avenue to the east. Both sides of the alley to be closed are owned by the same owner, and the purpose of the closure and vacation of the alley is to consolidate the northern and southern portions of the site for the development of Metro Park Hialeah South, a mixed-use project approved by the city. The alley will remain only open at the western end where it abuts properties owned by other parties. The applicant has received no objection letters from all utility companies and has agreed with the City of Hialeah Public Works Department, AT&T, Comcast, and FPL to relocate their existing services. Florida City Gas has sent a no objection letter as they do not have an active facility within the proposed alley closure. Recommendation approval.
Thank you. Carlos.
Right. Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members. We're here requesting approval on alley closure for the Metro Park South project. You're all very familiar. I think we had a presentation. I don't know if you want to pull that up, but I think you're all very familiar with the Metro Park complex by now, which is board and the city has approved. If you go to the next slide, please. Here you can see Metro Park is generally in East 25th Street. We have essentially three projects, right? We have the original Metro Park, which is in the north side of 25th Street between 10th and 9th Avenue. Then we have Metro Park North, which is the block just north of that. And we're going through the permitting process for that project. And then we have Metro Park South, which is also between 9th and 10th and on the south side of 25th Street. And that's the subject to today's application. The first building for Metro Park, which we call the original Metro Park, it's currently under construction. Just if you can go to the next slide, you can see here, these two show you, and the next one also shows you the progress on that project. We're expecting to open that building mid-2025, and we're all very excited about that. I know we've been working for a few years with you all on these projects. Like in the original Metro Park, there's a 12-foot alley, next slide, that runs through this property, which we need to close and vacate to construct the project. If you go to the next one, I think it shows it there clearly. You see here the alley that runs from one side of the block to the other, and we're closing only the portion where we own both sides of the alley. The rest of it is remaining open. Like Deborah mentioned, we have obtained consents from all utility companies for this application. Go to the next slide. Here is the FPL. We also have the city's public works department, water and sewer, AT&T, Comcast, and Florida City Gas. As part of our development, we'll be relocating and improving the existing infrastructure around the property, meaning there is a water main that runs through the alley. We're relocating that through the street side. And then we're also removing all the overhead utilities and working with the utility companies to have those relocated. So with that, we ask that you follow up your staff's recommendation and approve this alley closure. We'll remain to answer any questions you all may have.
Thank you. Let the record show that we have Mrs. Enriquez just showed up and just in time too. One question.
Yes.
Are you, as the developer, going to handle the utility relocations, or is that going to be facilitated by the utilities themselves with your?
Right. So we basically pay for the relocation, but the utilities do all the permitting and the work. Right. So that's why it's really driven by FPL mainly because they're the ones that have the poles, and all the other utilities sort of follow what FPL does. So we've been working with them for a while.
Because I know that AT&T and Comcast both have a lot of fiber lines out there. So yeah. Okay. Any comments or questions? Anyone in the audience? Anyone in the electronic audience? All right, close to the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Iglesias, second by Mr. Mason. Mr. Ulloa,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Mason, Mr. Iglesias.
Yes.
Item has been approved.
Thank you all very much. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Item number 4. Variance permit to replat the property into 2 substandard lots, with each lot having a frontage of approximately 40 feet and total lot area of approximately 4,635.5 square feet, where frontage of 75 feet and total lot area of 7,500 square feet are required. Rezoning property from R1, one family district to R2, 1 and 2 family residential district. Variance permit to allow no interior east side setback for the western lot, where 7.5 feet is the minimum required. Allow no interior west side setback for the eastern lot, where 7.5 feet is the minimum required. Allow rear setback of 18.5 feet, where 25 feet is the minimum required. And allow street side setback of 10 feet, where 15 feet is the minimum required. Property is located at 501 East 8th Street, Hialeah Zone R1, one family district. Applicant Frank de la Paz on behalf of Gino Domenico.
Frank, are you going to say anything else other than that you wish a table or?
Well, we really don't want a table, but then again, we don't want, I already
That-
sworn
that-
in. I was sworn in. I was here.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay.
The department would like us to not do what we ask. Even though what we ask, as you have seen it, is been done before.
Okay, the reason I'm asking that, so just so that we can expedite it.
Yes.
But let her read the,
The
Because-
recommendation and,
because, yeah,
Yeah.
you did mention something about tabling and, okay,
well,
go ahead and,
This lot is located in the northeastern corner of Fifth Avenue and East 8th Street intersection. The lot was platted according to plat record, page 38, book 54 in 1933, as an 80-foot by 115-foot corner lot. Since 1948, the lot has been improved with a single-family home structure. Further additions have been occurring throughout the years, which have been added without the benefit of a building permit. Records also indicate the property has an active code enforcement case. The applicant is proposing to replat the property as two substandard lots of 40 foot of frontage where 75-foot frontage is required and develop each lot with two-story attached duplexes. Staff has met with the applicant and has suggested not only rearranging the site, but also improving the facade. And because of other issues with vehicular circulation and other comments, the recommendation is to table the item. And the reason is when you come and you apply for a rezoning, what you bring, the conceptual plans that you bring are more or less what you should develop in a way that is consistent with that. You have seen that what they presented with the red facade, and we think that is not compatible with the neighbors, so we prefer to wait and have it. The rearrangement of the lot would be ideal, but that is not what is preventing us to recommend approval. What immediately called our attention is the facade that doesn't look as a facade that is consistent with what is in the area. So that is the main thing, and that's why we want to table it. Our recommendation is to table it until the next meeting, so we can receive a facade that would be considered consistent or compatible with what exists in the area.
okay, thank you.
I understand the comment about the facade and that the first rendering that we put bright bold colors. But then again, since there is no design criteria in the city necessarily, and we did submit a new one with a toned down gray and white colors. And then we had a short meeting where the department said that they preferred the building to be moved toward the front of the street, since we are facing an elementary school, and to submit the parking to the rear. We submitted a secondary idea, which I believe will not work, because when you have this type of a project, which is similar to the ones that you have been approving lately, if we're gonna put the parking on the back, then we have to split the building in having to have the flow of pedestrians from the rear parking to the front, which is, it will no longer be a zero lot line, it will be a readjustment to a 5-foot interior setback, call it like that. And then we will have to do a rear parking that will be split between both properties with a ingress egress kind of agreement, which all of that can be workable. we really don't like the idea of having the parking in the rear like that. So another suggestion came about, refacing the building to the avenue and having one entrance to the street and the other entrance to the avenue, and having that, which basically, if instead of splitting the lot to the historic size east-west, it will be replatting it to the north and south. It will be a it will be less deep, so it will be a fatted building, not as the normal that has been. It's not the same putting it on a 115-foot deep lot that it will be now on a 80-foot deep lot. So the building has, the structure itself will have to be redesigned to have or less of a setback in the back, which I don't agree. The original design that we did, instead of having the eastern side to the minimum, we decided to make the building a little narrow, but to have a bigger 10-foot setback towards the neighbors to the east, because we don't think that they're going to be redeveloping anytime soon. So there will be challenges if we redesign the building facing the avenue, like the last suggestion that we had. But then again, it's not that I like to pick up fights. I'm not fighting City Hall. It's just that we came out with a design that has been approved before. It has been built in La 20-some and all that. But I understand that the city may want to go a different way. The idea of building the buildings closer to the street, they have its own merits, which I agree. The fact that we have a street across the street will be the only one, because if you go down the street to the east, most of all the duplexes are fairly new, so they're not going to be, when I mean fairly new, they're from the last 30 years. So it's very hard to get them to redevelop, not like the old ones that have been built for more than 50 years. But having said that, if the department is set on recommending denial because they want a different design, the facade by itself should not be sufficient, because the setbacks is basically what we're asking, and we can work on the facade and put a different face to the building if we were to remain as originally designed on the footprint by itself. But if you all going to be following the director's recommendation like you usually do, then I will take, I will take with I take the table, because
Well, it's not recommended for
Yeah,
denial.
it's not, what I wanted to say is, it's not recommended for denial. And what we have with the master plan that we're doing, we have been doing a lot of walking audits. And when you live in a neighborhood like this one, that is mostly residential, R1, you have some R2s, you want to have that quality that the neighborhood has. And when you put all the parking in the front, you don't have that. You don't have the eyes on the street, you don't have that curb appeal. So that's the reason. That's why it is not because we're opposed, because and in the past, yes, things were approved. There were different times. This is a time when the city has a lot of development. So I think that this is the time to upgrade that what we have been doing. And if there are better ways to do that, we should go for the better ways, not just repeat what has been done.
no, I agree with you.
So
We have another
yeah.
project on Fifth Avenue on the other side of 9th Street, which we had the time and we have the benefit of the time, and we replatted into 3 lots with duplexes facing each individual, towards the front with the parking in the rear. And that's coming along. Finally, we got approved from FPL for that. So, it's understandable. It's just that the mechanism.
I think that it's better if we explore the other possibilities. We will work with you. We are not denying it. We think that here the replat of the lots is fine, that having 2 duplexes is fine, but what is not, what we would like to see is the configuration that you present.
Then
So we'll work with you and trying to find something that meets.
I will go for the table then, because
Yeah.
if it's going to replat, I have to get back to the surveyors. Instead of replatting east-west, we will have to replat north-south. I encourage you to go by there, see the neighbors to the north and the mess that they have there on 9th Street, and And, you know, I don't mind improving things.
Okay, so we wanna do a table and give you an opportunity to.
Come back next year.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Ulloa. And we have a second by Mrs. Enriquez. Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Mr. Mason? Mr. Ulloa? Mrs. Enriquez?
Yes.
Item has been tabled.
Frank,
Alright.
just for the record, name and address, please.
Oh, Frank de la Paz, 11000 Southwest 104th Street, Miami, Florida, 33176.
Thank you, sir. Okay,
You should know it by now.
yeah, well, you know. Okay, thank you.
Miscellaneous item not requiring advertising. Item number 5, final plat of tangible investment.
This is a replat of the property into two substandard lots. It was already approved by a variance. It has no objection from all the reviewers, so the recommendation is approval. Motion to approve?
We have a motion by Mrs. Enriquez, second by Mr. Mason. Mr. Ulloa?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes,
Mr. Mason? Mrs. Enriquez?
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Item has been approved.
you want to pass that, Frank?
Item number 6, old business?
Motion number 4.
No old business. Item number 7, new business.
Thank you for navigating and being able to be here on time, and coming today. Thank you.
Just call
Big
me,
effort.
just call me Captain Ahab from now on. Okay, so